Podcast, Pretty Sketchy Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Pretty Sketchy Podcast. I'm Corey Wyer, and with me as always is acclaimed author and founding member of the Baha Men, Michael Marshman. Michael, who did let the dogs out?
You did.
Oh, there you go. See? Mystery solved. The internet can now... We're done, guys. Everybody can pack up and go home.
Yeah, all right, I'm way too white to be a founding member of the Baha Men.
That's why it's ironic, Michael. Okay, first things first. One thing I wanted to do, because it occurs to me that, every podcast is someone's first podcast. So I figure maybe we should come up with a way of describing what we're actually doing for any newbies that are just dropping in, So essentially what we're doing is Michael has written a comic book called Homoko King. I love the title. He's a bit not quite sold on it, but I think we've convinced him now. And I'm drawing it. And I figured, why just draw it when I can, let everybody see what the process of putting together a comic and learn. We're learning as well. This is our first book together, first book ever, really, comic book. So yeah, that's basically it. So we live stream on YouTube, and we also dump out the audio to iTunes, so you can listen in the car or whatever. So that's basically it. So, because I'm an idiot and I'm unprepared and everything like that, I have no idea. I'm starting to draw page 3 today, so I can't remember what's on it. I've lost my paperwork and stuff. Oh, hang on. Hey, we got a phone call. This is cool. Hello, you're live on air.
Sorry?
You're live on air.
Am I?
We're streaming to YouTube. Say hi.
Oh, hi. All I was ringing was, can you remember to take those DVDs back?
Yes, no problems.
Okay.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
That was Natalie with impeccable timing as always. Okay, so yeah, I'm really unprepared, and I had some issues with my computer, so I have no idea what this page is. So Michael's about to explain it to me while we do this. So what are we looking at for page 3, man?
Top third of the page is more of Nissa flying, as a kid.
Yeah, learning to fly.
I've got it written here: show fast moving shadow, rustling some trees as it zips by, sort of thing.
Okay.
Second third of the page, you got Nissa. This is the scene in the garden where she's older, a little older, and she's talking to her grandfather, and the little back and forth between them.
So she's sort of like early teens now?
Yeah, 13-ish.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, she's a little older, sitting in the backyard drinking tea with her grandfather. Then you got a over the shoulder of the grandfather, from Nissa's perspective. No, sorry, other way around. My bad. Oh my god, I have it right in front of me and I'm not even getting it right. She looks confused and curious. Bottom third of the page is 3 smaller panels.
Yep.
Pretty much going back and forth between the 2 over the shoulder perspectives. The first one, the grandfather has a serious look. The next one, Nissa looks concerned. The last panel is actually a bit of a wider shot of the 2, with focus on the grandfather looking off into the distance with that 1,000-yard stare. I've seen some shit.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Sort of look.
Okay, so hang on, run through. I'm just quickly sketching that out. So I've got first panel is her flying, second panel is her in the garden having a conversation. Then you've got the bottom third of the page is so 2 panels of conversation between them where she's looking a little confused. And then you've got the grandpa staring off into the distance sort of as the last panel.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yep. No problems.
Do what you will with that information.
Yard stare. All right, cool. This is where the magic happens, people. All right. So what's been going on, man? What have you been doing?
Just sort of not trying to go crazy because of work, one thing. But in my free time, I decided I very, very slowly got through Luke Cage. I think there was a good 2-week break in between, I think I watched the first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
And then it was 2 weeks later I decided to hop back into it and sort of finish it. Yeah, that
feels. What are the feels?
I liked it. It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It I don't know. I suppose I didn't personally have any hype for it anyway. It was like Luke Cage came out, and I was like, oh, okay, Luke Cage is out. I wasn't one of the people that was like, oh my god, I need to watch this.
Yeah,
Um, it was okay. I felt like it didn't really go anywhere, if you know what I mean. Like that, because a lot of it is about Harlem itself, and not necessarily about Luke.
yeah.
And at the start of it, Harlem's sort of in this shit pile, and at the end of it, it's no better off.
Right. Okay.
I suppose, like, yeah, not much happens. I guess it's hard to explain, like, because you haven't watched it all, I think.
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Yeah, you haven't finished it. Yeah, I don't want to really spoil anything, but yeah, I mean, it was fun. It had some good moments. The guy that played Luke Cage, I can't remember his name. I think it's Michael Colton or something.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Great actor.
Good dude.
And the guy that played Cottonmouth, he friggin' great actor as well. The villain, but yeah, it's probably sitting below Daredevil and Jessica Jones.
Okay.
Daredevil's still top of the pile. It's gonna take a lot to beat that.
Yeah.
I think Punisher might have a good sort of shot at it.
Yeah.
If they do it right, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's more so that it just seems the other two are more traditional comic book shows, I guess. Whereas, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage are a little bit of a gamble because they're a bit different. And to me, like, Jessica Jones was a winner, and I haven't seen enough of Luke Cage to really comment, but it feels like there's definitely different vibe going on, different flavor to it,
Oh yeah. It's got that very blaxploitation sort of vibe to it as well.
Yeah.
Just not in one, an offensive way, or two, a sort of cheesy way.
Yeah.
But
what I found
it's got that music and all that kind of stuff that is usually in them. But yeah.
What I found that was funny was at the same time, what was the other show that came out? The Get Down. And I was sitting there, and I mean, I don't want this to sound like really ignorant or anything like that, but I was struggling to separate the two in my head because I was kind of watching episode per episode. You know what I mean? And I'm like, they're both about Harlem, and both got that sort of over the top sort of flavor of that sort of place. It's New York City, but it's not. Like, I mean, Daredevil's Hell's Kitchen, and it feels like Hell's Kitchen. This is definitely Harlem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, whether or not it's like I don't relate as well to it or not, it just didn't capture my. Maybe it was just too much Harlem that week, and I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'll just wait this out and watch it later on.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know. I'm too busy comparing it to the other two.
Yeah. Maybe taking it on its own merit is the way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I was talking to Carl about it. This was before I even finished it. I think I was like a few episodes in, and I wasn't completely sold on the show yet. And Carl had already finished it. And he's like, I loved it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. And he said that he could relate to it more because where he grew up and I grew up not far from him, it was a very sort of, I don't want to say ghetto community, but it was very low income, I suppose.
Yep.
Sort of community, and like a lot of the issues that you see in Luke Cage sort of happen in that area as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I think Carl saw a lot of what he saw when he was a kid in Luke Cage, and that's why he loved it. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I've definitely got to revisit it, to be honest, because that's exactly what happened with Jessica Jones too. I watched the first episode, or at least 3/4 of the first episode, and went, "There's nothing here that I can relate to." But then, for some reason, I think we ran out of Flash or something like that. Like, and we're jonesing for another superhero hit, and I convinced Nat, who you all just met a few minutes ago. I convinced her to maybe, let's just check out this show. We'll just watch one episode. I hear good things. Everybody's raving about it. We'll give it another shot. And, like a day and a half later, we'd watched every episode. So it's one of those. And I'm sure Luke Cage is exactly the same. I just got to give it the time, But yeah, so that's so out of 10, what are we talking?
I'd say 8, 7.
Yeah,
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's all right.
7 or 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely worse out there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. There definitely is. Anything that's not comic book related at this point is just, if it doesn't have dragons or isn't comic book related, I'm not interested. He says that and hasn't even watched the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, but whatever. Yeah, so tell me about Doctor Strange, man. As someone who hasn't seen it and has basically zero relationship with the character, what do you say? What are we talking?
It's up there, man. It's definitely one of my favorite Marvel cinematic movies.
Okay.
Probably
that's a big
behind Winter Soldier and Guardians.
Yeah, right on.
But yeah, as I said yesterday, it's going to take a hell of a movie to knock Winter Soldier off.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, it's a visual feast. I mean, don't trip and go see it.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever you do,
I'll keep that in mind.
because you're not coming back.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's Cumberbatch he's solid as always. I mean, he second time I've seen him do an American accent, and I don't know what it is with British actors, man. They can just do American accents. Like it's like friggin' Cavill, Hugh Laurie, Cumberbatch.
Hugh Laurie, the guy that nobody even knew was British.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though he's been on British television for decades.
Yeah. Show people an episode of Black Adam, and they'll be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What was that? Some awards show or whatever. He was presenting with someone else. He's walked up and says, "Hello, everybody. I'm Hugh Laurie." And the guy goes, "Oh, no one said we were doing accents."
Oh wow. Yeah. I think one of its biggest weaknesses, and it seems to be a trend with Marvel movies, is the villain.
Okay. Yeah.
Mainly because
who is the villain in this? I think I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about it, but I mix things up. So
I can't remember his name, but it starts with a C.
Cool.
See, that's how good the friggin' villain was.
Yeah.
But in most Marvel movies, I think the Captain America's aside, and maybe the Iron Man's, the villain is always a lackey for a bigger villain.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And
is it because they're going in for the big play later on, or
not with this one?
Yeah, right.
Not with this one. There's a bigger villain in this movie, and he kind of gets, spoiler alert, his ass handed to him in that movie, so it kind of wraps it all up. So, but there's reasons why they did it. Blah blah blah. Like he couldn't enter Earth's realm and blah blah blah, all that bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably the biggest weakness. I hate it when there's a villain who seems to have this personal agenda, or like this, I have to do this because God told me to,
Yeah, fair enough, yeah. And he thinks he's right. Which, I guess every villain with an agenda thinks they're right, but I think we've come to this age where villains have to be a little bit more complex. And the easy way out to do that is to give them an agenda which sort of parallels the true villains in the real world. Like you got things like Westboro Baptist and stuff who truly believe that what they're doing is right. They're not... Yeah. In that regard, their deeds are evil, but it's hard to call them evil people because they're just misguided. You know what I mean? And I'm not justifying anything they do. They're fucking horrible. But it's the same sort of thing. And any of the terrorists around the world and stuff, they're doing horrible, horrible things every day. But they 100% believe that what they're doing is the right thing. And that's more terrifying than someone who's like, I'm a bad guy and I'm going to destroy the city just because I fucking want to. That's makes for a much more terrifying villain.
But, the villain in Doctor Strange is pretty much that. He's totally convinced he's doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. He seemed like a stepping stone to something bigger, I guess. And that bigger thing was resolved in a total of 5 minutes.
Right. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. I mean, that sounds a little clumsy to me. Is that? Do you think the writing was a little clumsy, or do you think it's just par for the course? It's just a lot of tropes sort of glued together into a reasonably good and attractive looking movie.
I think Marvel, with a lot of their movies, they're trying to go too big. Um, if they kept it a more personal thing, or not even have the big bad guy in the movie at all, or like have him like just not gotten through, or God, I'm spoiling the fuck out of this movie.
Spoilers, people. You have to say
Um,
that if it's a podcast and you talk about anything.
yeah.
Spoilers.
Well, even if they still had him as a looming threat,
Yeah.
it probably would have worked better. But the fact that he was gone in like 5 minutes, it just seems kind of
Wow. Okay.
wasted, I suppose. Other than that, like it's such a good movie. Some of the humor doesn't quite land, mainly because they're just pop culture references. Like Cumberbatch will just say a celebrity's name.
Oh, he doesn't mention
Like
the Kardashians.
no,
Good.
no.
Okay. Then
Yeah, like yeah, he'll say something and then it'll be like, I'm watching the movie and I'm just like, okay, that was meant to be funny, but it just sort of it fell way flat, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I still really dug it. Fun movie, definitely worth seeing in the cinemas, just for the visual spectacle.
Yep.
And just the mind fuckery, I suppose. And
Yeah.
and you know, like I'm not a big Marvel fan. I'm pretty sure I've said that before.
Yeah.
Like I haven't read all their comics and blah blah blah. The only real interaction I've had with Stephen Strange before the movie was in Planet Hulk, when he's in it for a total of like 2 panels.
Oh, okay.
Because like a whole bunch of like this, essentially the smartest guys in the world send Hulk into space because they believe he's too dangerous,
Oh, fair enough.
and Stephen Strange is one of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my whole experience with him before the movie. Still cool.
Yeah. See,
cool
that's
movie.
more than I've had. So, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. I think I've got the same sort of reservations as everybody has with a movie like that, and that's that it's like it gets into that mystical sort of realm. And when they started doing like mainstream comic book stuff again, they the only way they felt like they could get it done is to go for the dead serious route, you know. And so far that's been working well. And then Deadpool came out, and so you always had superheroes. They would carefully select superheroes that had powers that were kind of, I wouldn't say tangible in the real world, because every mutant in every comic book ever is intangible pretty much to a certain
but
degree.
they were based on some kind of science.
Yeah, so you could look at it and go, I guess I could figure out how that would work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when you bust out magic, I think that's where it gets a little trickier, because it's like, well, hang on, this isn't weird genetic science I don't understand. This is magic. I gave up on magic when I was 6, you know? But yeah, there's a wealth of amazing characters. And I mean, was I talking to you the other day about it? About how like, the magical characters tend to be a little bit more interesting. You know, like Stephen Strange is probably one of the more powerful characters in the universe, because he can alter like reality itself, you know, and that makes for very interesting characters, and you got to give them the benefit of the doubt, I guess, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at characters like Constantine and Doctor Fate as well. Like,
Yeah.
Doctor Fate has always been a very interesting character to me. A very cool character, and he's essentially DC's version of Doctor Strange.
Okay, yeah.
Just I think a little more mystical, I'd say.
Yeah.
More deep in like Egyptian sort of lore and ancient sort of stuff. But anyway, him, but especially Constantine. The stories that have been written with him in them, like the Hellblazer series, are just fucking phenomenal. And it's not always about the magic itself. It's like there's a lot of social commentary at the time. I think when Hellblazer started, I think Margaret Thatcher was in office.
Right on, yeah.
And there was quite a few issues and like arcs dealing with Britain at the time, and the punk rock era, and youth rebelling against the old cronies sort of thing, and
Yeah,
like they were weaved so well into Hellblazer. Like you could kind of see how the destruction of Britain and the destruction of the world was sort of intertwined, like magically.
yeah.
It was just really well done, I think. And good luck us ever seeing that on a big screen, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They do
But I
try
mean,
to.
with Brexit happening, I mean,
Yeah, anything's possible.
now's the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, no, but they usually do that anytime they revisit something that's a little bit sort of
Dated.
dated, I guess. They tend to sort of try and use the similar elements and transpose it over a whole new, like modern interpretation. Like so in this case, it might be something to do with the Trump type of character, or something like that, which they might try to not rebrand it, but reinterpret it for the modern age, so that it's relatable.
Yeah.
And it'll piss all of the purists off, but everybody else will get it.
Oh god.
Yeah. But
Speaking of which, the worst thing ever happened yesterday.
what's that?
I burned the roof of my mouth with some hot food.
Oh no!
I mean, Trump got elected president, but man,
Yeah.
my mouth fucking hurts. Right?
Well, you know my theory, right? We've talked, and I don't want to get into politics on this, and I don't think this is really because I'm not. Honestly, I really couldn't care who the president of the United States is. I live in Australia. I barely care who runs this place. I'm one of those really ignorant sort of dudes who just doesn't give a shit. And I wasn't pro-Trump. I wasn't pro-Hillary. I wasn't pro-anything. But what has bewildered me is, to me, I saw Trump's campaign for what it was right from the beginning. And essentially the entire world just got played. And based on the comments I'm reading on Facebook and Twitter about how the world's going to end and all this, nobody understands that they got played. The whole campaign was I had two theories. One, he was just being completely outlandish and saying incredibly left of field things to just blow people's minds and confuse the shit out of them. And the reason for that, I think, was just a distraction campaign. Just to sort of he knew that everyone was fed up with politics at that point and all that. So he was trying to be controversial. And he's a controversial guy, so that's par for the course. But I think he was ramping it up a lot. The other theory I had was, I know that he's actually, I've heard him say many times he's great friends with the Clintons. And my sort of conspiracy theory on the whole matter was, well, maybe he's being the crazy lunatic on the other side of the fence that people would be too terrified to vote for. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, okay, I want Hillary would be great in the White House, so I'm going to be the other campaign candidate and just be a complete lunatic. No one will vote for me. They'll have to vote for her. And that was my sort of conspiracy theory sort of thing going on. But now I look at it, and I don't know if you watched his acceptance speech yesterday, confirmed everything I was thinking about how it was all an act. He was saying a whole bunch of things that are never going to happen, and he knows it's never going to happen. He's not going to build a fucking wall. He was never going to. It was just the craziest shit he could think up at the time to say out loud. You know? It's not going to happen. And his acceptance speech was all, don't worry, everybody. I'm all about building strong relationships with other nations and looking after all Americans, which when 24 hours earlier was exactly the opposite to the letter of what he was saying. And it was all a big fucking ploy to either get in or to get Hillary in. And I don't know which one it actually was. Either way, if it was one or the other, I guess it fucking backfired. And I just don't think it's as big a doom and gloom as everybody suspects. Will he be a great president? I don't know. No one ever knows. Will he be the guy that he was throughout his campaign trail? I absolutely wholeheartedly believe that he won't be, and people are losing their fucking minds. And that's my take on it. And that's, I really don't care. I just wanted to be right. You know what I mean? I'm like, I was sitting there last night just looking at social media and the news, and everybody, like Reddit was just out of fucking control, and actually Facebook more so. But I was just thinking to myself, how are you people not seeing it for what it is? The guy, he's been a successful businessman for decades, and you don't get to that point by being the guy that he's playing. In fact, if you've ever seen him in the WWE, he was playing that guy. He played himself in the WWE as a crazy billionaire guy, and that's who he was being throughout the campaign. It just boggles my mind. I'm struggling. I've drawn a pretty cool picture of Nissa here, but I don't know how to incorporate Grandad into the shot yet. I'm still working on that. Yeah. So anyway, the reason I was really underprepared for today's podcast.
Oh, here we go.
Man, I know it always comes back to, can we have a podcast where Corey doesn't mention PlayStation VR? Apparently not. So, fuck, man. Last night I downloaded the Batman Arkham experience, and I want to preface it by saying it's not an Arkham game. I mean, it's an Arkham game, but it's not the Arkham games that you're familiar with. It's a whole different ball game, right? And that's with real good reason, because a lot of game types really don't translate to VR that well. So they make experiences that do. It's like mobile games. You know, a lot of times a first-person shooter is going to be a piece of shit on a phone, so they don't make them anymore. They make different experiences that work great on phones. And this is the same sort of deal. It's Arkham's universe, so the Batman that you play in it is the one from the games, with, you know, Alfred and the Batcave and all that sort of stuff. But it's definitely not an action game in that I haven't played that much of it, but you're not running around beating guys up and stuff like that. It definitely leans more towards the detective side of things. You're solving crimes. I won't spoil anything, but let's just say that part of your Batman camp, two members are missing. One of them, the first you find out, with the first case you sort of check out, is one of them is you find him dead. And so you have to recreate the crime scene using your bat scanner and a really cool time manipulation technique where you're seeing a recreation of the events as they unfolded. You can't see who the bad guy is. He's sort of like just a wireframe, but you can see the character who died, and you can fast forward and rewind through time as they're duking it out, to try and figure out different points in time where something happened that might be a clue. And honestly, dude, standing there in the middle of a dark alleyway with two guys who are 6 feet tall, you know, I mean, you're Batman, so you're a little bit taller, but these are big dudes, with a really, really cool, brutal choreographed fight scene happening around you that you're standing in the middle of, and you can turn around and you can watch and you can stop and you can rewind and fast forward. You can change points of view as well. Like you're standing in one part of the laneway with a press of a button, suddenly you're at a different vantage point looking back the other way. It's almost like it's one of those intangible things you can't explain about VR until people do it. Watching it on a screen, you don't get a sense of scale and weight and depth. But when you're standing in the middle of it and looking around, and these are two big dudes, if you were standing in a situation with these two guys beating the crap out of each other, it would be intimidating, you know, because they're big, and you know that at some point the fight's coming your way and you'll be bowled over and it's going to hurt, you know. That's the feeling you get. The other thing that blew my mind, I haven't for some reason experienced this in VR yet, is because the first thing you do to line you up properly, they say stand on the Batarang, and you stand on the Batarang, and then you do some shit, and eventually you're going down an elevator into the Batcave, which is fucking gigantic, by the way. Like, it's just this enormous vertical scale cave, you know. So when you look up, it's like 100 meters to the top at least, you know. But when you go in the elevator and it's basically just a round platform you're standing on, I've gone, oh fuck, I should step over and look over the edge, and I was stepping to the edge like I was standing on a goddamn building, you know. And I mean, I know in my head I can just step over it and I'll just be floating there. It's no big deal. But do you think I could bring myself to actually fucking do it? I just couldn't do it. It's the, you know, and you see that on, you know, you see funny VR videos of people, you know, freaking out and stuff like that. And I mean, I wasn't freaking out. I knew in my mind what was going on, but holy shit, if I didn't step gently to the edge of that fucking edge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just something you have to experience, you know? And the beautiful part about this game in particular is there's so much detail, because these guys aren't new to this, you know, they've been making Arkham games for a long time. So the set pieces that you go to, and they are set pieces, you sort of bounce around inside them, from vantage point to vantage point, where at each point you can stand there and turn around and look at everything. You can pick things up, like if you're at the morgue, you can pick up the clipboards and read what's on the documents, and that's all part of the clues. Like the thing that I found really cool that I had to figure out myself, because there's no clues on this, is you got to open a safe, like with a push button keypad, and I'm looking at it going, oh fuck. And so I went all around the room and I'm looking, there's a note on one of the clipboards that says, oh dude, I had to lock the key for the drawer in the safe because there's some dude, you know, I still haven't found my watch, you know what I mean? So I look over and there's a safe, and I'm like, cool, go over there, and it's got a button combination. I'm looking at it going, I don't know the combination. Looking all around the room, went to all of the other points, checked everything, no code. So I went back there and I pulled out my bat scanner and just shot the keypad, and you can see fingerprints on 3 of the digits.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I just sat there just with my own hand, like, because you're using the move controllers, and just punched in combinations of those 3 digits until it opened. It took me like 3 goes. But it was just like, I just figured that out. You know what I mean? And it's one thing to sit there, mash an X, you know what I mean? Or like, but when you're actually pressing the button with your hand and going, it genuinely feels like you just solved a mystery. It's I can talk about it all day, but until you actually sit there and try it, and we all love the Batman universe. We love the Batcave, the Batmobile, all the Bat plane and stuff. And the cave itself has several locations that you can zip to, that allow you to indulge that fantasy of being in the Batcave, and they all have a purpose. But say if you go to the garage portion, you press. It says what vehicle do you want on one of the touch screens. You go, oh, I'll press that one. The Batmobile comes out on this giant robotic arm, and you've got these 2 levers that you manipulate with your arms that turns it around. You can look at it from all angles. You can press a button, and all the weapons just pop out of the vehicle and shit. And if it's a period in the game where you can actually take off to another location, there's a lever there you can pull, and it's like launch, But you manipulate everything in the environment, just like you would in real life with the bat gloves, with the whole thing. It just, just reaching down and pulling the grapple gun off your utility belt with your hand. It's just that much more immersive. Pulling out the scanner and changing modes and doing things on that with buttons and things. It's a whole other ball game, And as much as if this game came out just on 2D on a screen with a controller, it'd be like a boring CSI game, except for the fact that it would be made cool by the fact that it's Batman. You do Batman shit in it, But because you're in VR and you're in the actual world and you're going, fuck me, I'm on the set of a Batman film. Because that's what it feels like, except there's no cameras and there's no point of view that you can look at where there's something that's not real, It's really cool, man. I don't want to oversell it because I don't want you to come over and check it out and go, oh yeah.
This fucking sucks.
Yeah, this isn't nearly as cool as you made it out to be, dude. It really is. And I mean, it's a super cheap experience too. It's like $25 or whatever. And I mean, everyone knows it's not the longest game in the world. I don't honestly know because I haven't come close to finishing it. But I'm assuming an hour or an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, if that. And I mean, a lot of that time you could elongate that just by dicking around with the stuff in the Batcave and, and all that. So yeah, man, but you definitely got to come and try it. It's the shit.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So there's my commercial for Sony out of the way. There's my ad read.
Where's our money?
I should have done a Bill Burr ad read. these fucking guys at Sony, eh? Yeah. Yeah, but I've ran out of topics. What else did you want to talk about?
You've played The Witcher, right? The Witcher 3?
I have, yep.
You know the card game Gwent?
For sure, yep.
Well, they started the closed beta for the full Gwent video game.
Oh, okay. So is it going to be like one of those Blizzard type?
Yeah, like a Hearthstone or a Magic the Gathering
something. Yeah.
game.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I got into the closed beta.
Yep.
And I was actually playing the shit out of it this morning.
Oh, okay. How is it? I mean, surely it plays just like it does in the game, though, right?
It plays exactly the same, except you get various decks, and there's a lot more cards in this than there are in The Witcher 3.
Fair enough.
Granted, I never got all the cards in The Witcher 3, but as far as I can tell, there's a lot more, and I think they're probably going to add a bit more depth to it as well in terms of strategy and whatnot, because you're playing against actual people this time. So
okay, yeah,
and actual people can get a little tricky,
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's funny. I find that in Valkyrie VR, playing against AI pilots compared to playing against human pilots, you just can't take anything for granted with humans because they're just fucking weird. They don't follow any patterns. They don't do anything you'd expect,
Yeah. You're making me think of Ender's Game, man. You could be actually killing a another race.
Yeah, 100%. And wouldn't regret it because it's a great game.
But yeah, nah, I'm just really excited. I loved Gwent in Witcher 3. Not many people did. Like a lot of the people I talked to were like, yeah, I played it once. I didn't quite get it.
Yeah,
I didn't quite
that
understand
was me. No, you just
Yeah,
described my experience with it. Yeah.
yeah.
But,
I was actually like that at first as well. Like I think I played the tutorial of it and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I went back to it, actually learnt the game, and I got pretty addicted to it.
yeah, right on.
So now that there's a full game in the works in closed beta right now that I can play, and it's free. Holy shit!
Yeah. Good night.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm very happy.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I got into Hearthstone for a little bit, but it just like it's like anything with those games. You get into it and you're like, hey, this is pretty fucking cool, man. And you win a few games against AI and shit, and then you go out in the world and you get dominated by some
Absolutely
human.
dominated.
And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, well that's all right. I'll probably get better at this. Then you go to work and some dude who's been playing it for like 8 months is like, oh, you got to do this and then swap that card for this and then turn that into that and then make sure you use this strategy and then that strategy and put this down there and make sure that you always use this card when that card's on the table and shit. And I'm like, oh, fuck, there's rules. Like, I was going
can't just
okay
pull it
until
up.
you started telling me that there's a way to actually play this shit. You know, I just randomly put down whatever card looks pretty. You know. And that's no way to win. And eventually you just lose so much that the game stops being fun, you know. And
Yeah.
and there's always like pay to players who just have way better decks than you because they're willing to spend fucking hard earned money,
Yeah.
and all that. But yeah,
And I remember when Magic: The Gathering 2014 came out, the video game, and I'd never played a Magic: The Gathering game before, and a mate of mine's like, "Oh, buy it, it's a good game, blah blah blah," and peer pressure and all that bullshit. I was like, "Okay, why not?" So I bought it, downloaded it, started playing it, played through like the quote unquote story mode, got a few extra cards from it, blah blah blah, and I found that I really liked a certain deck. I can't remember the name of it. It was like the Necromancer deck. And what it does, it's more of a long play sort of deck. You sort of, a lot of it involves bringing a lot of your cards back from the grave and just sort of creating a wall of zombies that your opponent can't get past.
okay, yeah,
And I ended up playing with my friend like one-on-one, and this is probably I think it was my first time actually versing a human opponent. And I kicked the ever-loving shit out of him. And he was just like, what the fuck? I couldn't do anything. What are you doing? You're a magician. And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just whatever. And
Natural
we got
ability.
another mate in. We got another mate in, and you can do 1v1v1. We did that, and I won pretty easily again. And my other mate was like, what the fuck did you just do? And they were both like, all right, let's play again. I'm like, all right. And they both teamed up on me to take me out first so they could verse each other to see who won. I still fucking won.
Oh,
They
so
just couldn't
needless to
get
say,
through it.
OP deck and a little bit of strategy goes a long way.
Yeah, it was either an OP deck or I just had a natural affinity for the game. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that was the last time I ever played it. Like, I never went back to it. Mainly because I felt kind of bad.
It's like I have to be the responsible one here and pull out because I'm just ruining the fun for everyone else.
Yeah, pretty much. It's why I rarely play fighting games that I know how to play against friends. Like, I know I'll kick your ass, and I know you'll get angry, so I'm just not going to play.
Yeah, it's like talking politics at a party. You're just avoiding trouble, like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever found a game that I was just naturally good at. I think I was listening to something the other day they were talking about that. Have you ever played a game that you just, like, just naturally out of the gate were just elite, because everybody's got that experience of going on and going, hey, I'm gonna have a crack at Call of Duty this year for about
Yeah.
5 minutes. And they go,
Yeah.
nah, this isn't for
Yeah,
me.
I can't really think of anything. I was okay at Injustice.
Yeah.
I wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, but other than that, I suppose I was in like the top 15 on one of the leaderboards for Arkham City
Oh wow.
for a little while. It was a Catwoman combat thing, and I was like, yeah, rank 15 or something
Yeah.
in the world. So I was like a bit chuffed with that. Come back a few days later, I'm like rank like 400. But you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, that's why you need to screenshot it while you're up there.
I did screenshot it. It's on Facebook somewhere.
Oh, cool.
I'll see if I can find it actually at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, I can't really think of anything I've been all that great at.
Yeah, no. So I tend to suck at games. That's why I don't play them a lot, which is ironic, based on the nature of my job. But yeah, I just, I'll stick to drawing for the main thing. To be honest with you, my obsession with games isn't about winning, and it never has been. It's always been about the cutting
experience.
edge. Well, the experience.
Oh, okay.
Great stories are always a massive thing for me, and I think that's the same for everybody. Everyone's got that game that they were blown away by that story, and they'll play.
I would say everybody, man. Like, you got your people that just buy your CODs and your FIFAs.
Yeah.
And, like, they just do it.
Yeah,
for
but
the
I mean,
entertainment.
again, I've never been disappointed by a campaign in a COD, ever. They always have those big experiences that you get to do that just, you're always going, fuck me, I can't believe that just happened,
Yeah, the big set pieces.
Yeah, the big set pieces, things getting fucked up, people in the games doing stuff that just boggles your mind, like when Price launched fucking...
nukes.
He gets his way onto a nuclear sub. He goes way here, and you're like, all right. And he disappears, and then all of a sudden, all these fucking ICBMs come launching out of a submarine at the United States, and I'm like, holy shit, we literally just got this guy out of the gulag.
Yeah.
this is kind of sort of maybe just a little our fault. I don't know,
Yeah. Didn't they explode in the atmosphere though? Like
it was. I think it was just he wasn't doing it to destroy America. He was doing it to force somebody else's hand. I can't remember exactly what was going on, but
because that was Modern Warfare 2.
I think it might have been. Yeah.
Because I actually remember playing that, and that's the last one I played.
Yeah.
And
when soap, like, just little things like, and I mean, every game's got moments like this. It's not just Call of Duty, and I'm not a huge Call of Duty whore by any stretch. I haven't played the last two. But just like, just little bits like when soap comes, like, you're chasing this dude through the favelas, and he's running along, you're running along and shit, and he disappears, and your character's like, I lost him, and you hear Soap's voice go, not on my watch, and he smashes this motherfucker out a second-story window and lands on a car right in front of you, and he's just like, holy shit. And like scripted moments like that nowadays are par for the course, but that to me, I dropped the controller on the ground and went, win! We're number one,
I think Uncharted are the masters.
Oh fuck yeah! Dude. I mean that's what that game survives on, is the insane story,
Yeah, and the set pieces.
Yeah, but I mean the original ones, when you think about it, like the actual action in them stuff was very formulaic. Number 4 is a lot better. I went into it half expecting it to be the same old thing. Where you come to a place where you just know there's going to be a fight because there's too much cover.
Too much cover, yeah.
You go, oh, I'm going to get
Gears of War is still like that. I'm playing through it with Paulie, and we walk into a room and there's just like bits of rubble that are conveniently shaped like rectangles. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to fight now.
Yeah, this is it.
Lo and behold, the second we walk in, you hear the screams and you're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. But it is what it is. They got to make things recognizable. It's like with the game Rise. Everybody was like, "Oh, all the bad guys look the same." There's like 3 different bad guys. It's like, yeah, but you have to fight each of those bad guys differently. So it gives you an indication as a player as how to tackle that guy. They could add a little bit of variation, which they kind of do, because as the game goes through different levels, you go to different places and the bad guys are different people. But that was one of the as an apologist for that game, I was the one going, well, they've got to have something they can upgrade for number 2, But yeah, man, it was like that was again one of those games that the action was very repetitive, but it was a lot of fun. The graphics were sensational, and you can bitch about it all you want, but if people enjoy it, they enjoy it,
Yeah. I mean, like, you can have a video game that only has 3 enemy types. As long as you execute it well, it can be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, if I had a game that only had 3 enemy types, I'd make them relatively easy to beat, kind of, like, in different ways, but have them come at you so quick that you have to react fast enough to have the right button combination to get rid of that enemy.
Yeah, So a little bit of a panic sort of factors into it as well.
Yeah, a bit of a Twitch kind of thing. A best example I can think of is One Finger Death Punch. That game only has two buttons: the left mouse button and the right mouse button.
Yeah,
and
I haven't seen that one, but I've heard some things.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Like, my God. Yeah.
One Finger Death Punch.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Something about panic in Twitch games. Can't think what it was. There was something, a game that was just like that. I can't think what it was. Doesn't matter. Let's move on. Yeah. Okay, so I'm almost pretty happy with this panel. Okay, so one of the things I noticed when I was inking page 2, there's the scenes in the garden here, and I realized I was just drawing the most basic suburban garden I'd ever thought of, and I was struggling with the idea of what to put in the background behind the fence, which was I was thinking buildings and cityscape, or you sort of mentioned that it was really suburban where they are. It's not really in a city.
Yeah, it's near the city, just not.
Yeah. Like, and I was thinking, okay, I could draw the city in the background, and I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck would I even bother? Like, when this guy clearly all he does is gardens and dispenses information. It doesn't make sense that that his garden would be so barren. So I'm like, I'll just do away with all of that. Top actually, how's that page? Let me have a look. Yeah, here. See, like, I don't know, it'll take you a few seconds to see this, but I've got some sort of like shrubbery and stuff in the background here, but nothing beyond that. And I've been sort of waiting for inspiration to go, okay, I'll put a cityscape or whatever. But why wouldn't it be some sort of lush, like, oasis of garden, like with tropical flowers and weird shit? I mean, I've sort of stuck to, with what he's working on here, I've stuck to a lot of very sort of bonsai style stuff with, miniature trees and things like that. And I've got like a weird sort of vine overhanging here now. But it should be lush. It shouldn't just be, oh, here's the fence, And these are the sort of things that worry me about doing comics, is that what happens if I finish the artwork and it goes to print, then I think of the world's best idea, And now that the shit idea is canon, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the garden's always going to be shitty and barren. Or you got to write something like, oh, the garden looks great, Grandpa. Yeah, I decided to learn how to fucking garden. Suddenly, from that point on, he's got a great garden,
Yeah. You could always beg me to retcon shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh no. See, that last garden was like it was.
That was his other garden. Like, he just started that one.
Yeah, it was like a virtual sort of thing. It wasn't legit. It was a different temporal environment. Like
that was after he poured salt in the ground.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm trying to make sure that I establish things properly to begin with. But as it stands, I'm like, I'm trying to focus more on, let's bring it up again, the Sean Murphy School of Backgrounds, where there's so much detail in the background, but still doesn't take away from the focus of the panel, So rather than moving on before I start to worry about that stuff, I'm going to start worrying about it as I draw the panel. So it makes a lot more sense. I need to somehow put that back in because I've got it in the other thing. So,
how long is Grandpa's beard?
How long? It's long.
Yeah, it looks pretty epic.
Yeah, why is that? Because you said you wanted him to have a hell of a beard. So
yeah.
Is it too long? It's
no, that's
almost fine. Santa Claus. All right, cool.
No, that's fine.
He's got the long do. All right, cool. Does Grandpa actually have a name? I just always refer to him as Grandpa.
He does, but you're not going to know it.
All right, cool, fair enough. Right. I'm happy. I can handle that.
I mean, so I should probably tell you, but
yeah, fair enough.
everyone else can go fuck themselves for now.
Ah, see, that's how you treat them in and keep them keen, man. That's how you do it. So, have you got any more?
Comes out his name's just like Kevin or something.
Uncle Steve.
Yeah.
Have you got any more Defacasts lined up? Because I should mention, since the last one, I actually went back because finally Carl pulled his finger out and put all of the podcasts on, or at least some of the podcasts on iTunes. Which is really, I mean, to me, that's the only way I can even really listen to podcasts, because it's just so convenient.
Yeah.
So I went through and I listened to 3 of them, and I'm kind of really digging it, man.
What was the last one you heard?
It was Electric Dreams.
Electric Dreams.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was Waiting,
Old Boy.
Old Boy, and Electric Dreams. Is I think that's all that's up there. I might just have a quick look.
Yeah, because we've got like I think 9 total done, and
Right, okay.
they're all on YouTube at the moment.
Mhm.
I don't know what Carl's done with the iTunes thing, because I got no idea.
There might be. You might need to look at it. Actually, I might talk to you about this off air. I think they're not grouped.
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
on the app, so there might be something you got to change. It updates easily, so it's not a big deal. But
Yeah, I might have to talk to Carl. I believe he's in Japan at the moment. So.
Okay. Learning about hosting podcasts.
Yeah.
It's so you got episode 2, 3, and 4 up. Obviously,
Episode
number
1
one never made it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't know why.
yeah. You talked about that. There was something went wrong with number 1 or something.
No. Number 1 exists. Just that iTunes rejected it for whatever reason.
Oh, okay, right. Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, my logic is that even iTunes hates Kroll.
You know what? That's not the movie I thought it was. I was like, Kroll the Conqueror or whatever. It was actually Cole the Conqueror. That was a Kevin Sorbo movie from the 90s.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I actually watched the trailer for Kroll. And what year was that? It was 70 something, right? Late 70s, maybe early 80s.
I think it was early 80s. It was definitely after Star Wars because they completely rip off the opening shot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, see, I can't understand how. I mean, I know Superman was a huge. Star Wars was a huge budget movie that came out, took years to make, and drove George Lucas insane. You know, getting all those effects done, because all of those effects that exist in that film didn't exist prior. They were created for Star Wars. You know?
For Star Wars, yeah.
But my point is, after 1977, all that shit existed. So how did movies like Kroll come out and be so fucking dated? You know, it's the same when you look at like Buck Rogers and shows like that. They're definitely influenced by Star Wars, but they're just so ingrained in 80s style that they date horrifically.
Yeah.
Like bad haircuts and shit. Somehow, I don't know who was in charge of all that stuff on Star Wars, but you can look at Luke and Han and Leia and all those people, and not one of them has any kind of style indicative to the time. So you could literally remake those movies today with the same costumes and the same hairstyles and stuff, and you wouldn't be going, oh, this is campy 70s shit. You know what I mean? Unlike all of those other shows.
I think it comes down to George Lucas, because he did design a lot of the characters, and he essentially designed a whole world. And I've seen so many goddamn behind the scenes stuff and documentaries and interviews with Lucas. He had a very specific vision for it, especially with the way the technology was. Like all the sci-fi shit that he used to see was very clean and pristine and very white and all that shit.
Like THX.
Yeah,
like that's.
He wanted a sci-fi world where everything was sort of grimy and dirty and machines were breaking down. Like the Millennium Falcon was barely functioning.
Yeah.
That
was
like
beautiful.
Han would have to like whack it and shit. Like you'd never seen that sort of thing before Star Wars.
Yeah.
In a sci-fi thing, I think part of that and part of his vision sort of made him create a neutral sort of look for the characters where they don't have a specific time period allocated to them in terms of their looks.
Yeah, but see, you know what? As someone who designs things and characters and stuff like that, that's next to impossible because everything's influenced. You know what I mean? Whenever you're trying to design something stylistically, you're always looking at things around you and going, what inspires me? What do I think looks mad? What's a cool, like, let's base it on a cool person, you know?
Yeah.
And the coolest people in 1977 aren't cool today, you know?
Yeah,
as far as the way they look and stuff, you know? That's why when they make period movies like Boogie Nights and stuff, you can identify the time immediately just by what people are wearing, you know, and the way that they're talking and things like that. And there's just none of that. And again, you know, like Battlestar, movies like
Flash Gordon.
Oh my God, Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon looks like it was shot in the early 60s, you know, and the effects and stuff are freaking awful, you know. And again, it just boggles my mind that that's a post Star Wars world, you know.
Well,
and it gives you pause to sort of think how revolutionary that movie was. Star Wars, I mean, for the day. Like, it really, like, people didn't catch up to that for decades, you know. And even then, when they made the new movies, they tried to sort of outdo themselves and make them bigger. But nobody even liked that. They didn't want the fucking huge Coruscant scenes and all of the fucking all that sort of stuff. They wanted to see what Star Wars is, and it's a very close up and gritty, in the details kind of thing, not a big scope kind of movie.
Yeah,
You know? Which is, I think, Rogue One is going to definitely be that. It's going to be set in corridors and fucking the biggest thing you'll see is the desert. You know. But
I think when you were talking about like the fact that a lot of the looks were inspired by something, I think a lot of that was from the old, I can't remember his name, but Lucas was heavily inspired by, I think it was the Seven Samurai.
Yeah, for sure.
The old black and white Japanese movie. I think a lot of the looks he got from there, which, you know, that's a way back time period where not a lot of Western culture would be familiar with it.
Yep. Yeah, so you got the Luke's kimono. You got the fact that they're using swords similar to samurai swords and not like Knights of the Round Table kind of
like
vibes.
Leia's hair. I think the closest thing in Star Wars that looks anything 70s or 80s is Han Solo's clothes. And even then, they're just like a biker, essentially.
Well, I mean, they're really cowboy inspired. He's wearing like a vest and he's got a low slung pistol, you know, like you're right. That sort of is definitely specific to an era or at least a time, but that's who he is. He's a scoundrel cowboy, you know, and so that makes sense. But even just like, cause I was always obsessed with looking at the, character, designs, what do they call it? Concept art.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And when you look at it, there's definitely designs for like Wookiees and Ewoks and stuff like that were very indicative of 70s or late 60s, or so I guess early 70s to late 70s sort of design. You know, like there was things that were very sort of early Henson and stuff like that, which never made the cut. And I think that's the genius of the movie, because that would have dated it. If the movie came out looking like The Dark Crystal, it would have dated dramatically, and it wouldn't be the movie that it is today. And don't get me wrong, I love Dark Crystal.
I was going to say, don't you shit on that movie.
No, but you know what? I recently showed that to my friend Cloud. Like, I made her watch it because she's like, her art style fits perfectly into that universe, and she just doesn't know it, you know. So I said, you got to watch this movie, The Dark Crystal. It's all puppets. Beware, it's very dated. It's very 70s. And she watched it, and I don't think she connected with it on that kind of level that we did. Because when I saw that as a kid, it blew my mind, and it actually influenced my art. You know, as a young kid, I was pulling things from that movie and drawing gelflings and shit like that.
Man, just scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. But those fucking Skeksis, man.
Oh, the Skeksis. They're still horrifying, man. Terrifying. So, you know, like, it's like she loved the movie and she loved the style and all that, but a movie with 70s dated looking puppets with hairstyles like David Bowie, you know, it's dated. You can look at it immediately. I mean, aside from the fact that it's, you know, it looks, they've cleaned it up and stuff a lot, but it definitely looks like an old movie. It's hard to relate as a 20-year-old in 2016 to something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And even somebody who's like I said, art style should be informed by that sort of art, you know.
Well, I mean, like, I think you can show that movie to, say, a 3 or 4 year old now, traumatizing aside. Like, they could still have that connection with it because,
for sure, yeah, they don't have a point of reference. They don't know what the 70s was.
Yeah, and it's all magic to them.
Yeah, maybe you got to get them younger than 21.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Take that out of context, Jesus.
I've done it again.
Someone clip it.
Excuse me, sir. Can you open the door, please? Oh man, I didn't know the cops listen to my podcast. Yeah. No. Like, let's move away from that.
I'll make a new show or Corey out of context.
Yeah, just edit together all of the dumb shit I say that sounds like it's bad. All right, this panel's looking really good, man. I'm digging it. I'm digging the concept for the garden. I don't know where you can see that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take a photo and send it off to you. But
my eyes are a piece of shit anyway. So
you need better internet, man.
no, I need glasses.
Yeah, you need. Yeah, but NBN wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. Well, it would probably hurt my eyes more because I'd be spending more time on the screen.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, I just fucked up that shadow. Let's try that again. All right. Well, we might wrap it up there, man. Cool. Another week, another drawing. That's mad. Hang on. I just got to finish this shadow before I forget where it's supposed to go. There we go. That's looking more like it. Oh, fuck. Hang on. Sorry, I'm on a roll. I got to get ready for work. This is bullshit.
Oh shit! You start pretty soon.
Yeah, PlayStation Pro and all that. Yeah. All right. So thanks for watching again. This podcast was brought to you by Wyer Art because we don't have any real sponsors, and that's my website. If you were watching the stream and but want to listen to us on your commute, check us out by searching Pretty Sketchy Podcast on iTunes. If you want to see what I'm doing, check it out on YouTube. Again, search for Pretty Sketchy Podcast. That's who we are. Cool. All right. We'll catch you guys next time.
Alrighty.
Peace.
See you later.